So, Liam, thank you for coming on the podcast, mate. I want to get to know you a little bit more.
My passion for computers began in IT and then morphed into web development and now marketing.
What kind of got you into computing?
I think it's just been a special interest from a young child. My first computer was a Commodore 64.
Was this your first business that you created as a business owner?
Pixite is my first business. Predominantly I ran as a freelancer up till COVID. So I changed to the agency model, and that's been a game changer for me.
With SEO, what do you think is some of the most important things businesses should be doing in order to get as close to that first page as possible? On this week's episode of the podcast, we have Liam from Pixite. Pixite is a company here in Penrith that deals with creating SEO strategy, web development, and also paid strategy for their clients as well. So let's get into talking with Liam from Pixite. So Liam, thank you for coming on the podcast, mate. It's something that I've actually wanted to get you on for a while. Now, we've only known each other for a very short period of time, even though we've operated in the Penrith area simultaneously, probably at the same time. We're only really kind of introduced to each other end of last year. So I was like, I need to have him on my podcast and talk about him and talk about the business. We are similar in minded with certain things, and we actually are working together with some mutual clients, which is awesome. So what I want to talk about first is, before we talk about the business and what Pixite does, I want to get to know you a little bit more. So can you tell me a little bit about, what you were like in high school and what you kind of were hoping to do outside of high school and kind of going into a career?
Thank you for having me, Adam. At school, I was a computer geek. I was an absolute nerd, but I was also a nerd that played football both for the school and on weekends. Okay. And so my passion for computers began in IT and then morphed into web development and now marketing.
Yeah. When you talk about computer nerd, what exactly were? Is it gaming, or was it just software development? Like, what was it?
Predominantly it was, putting together computers and fixing them.
Or actually making them, like physically making.
It's actually not that hard, to be honest.
Okay. Someone who's never done one probably is, but
not too hard. And there was a little bit of development. There was a bit of network. I was, at one point in time, I was going to go into network security.
Oh, like IT.
I used to do just a bit of hacking, like, some teachers their CD drawers would open up randomly, and
we don't condone hacking. So you just were a prankster?
A little bit. It was more sort of just figuring stuff out more than anything.
What kind of got you into computing? Like, was there a situation or someone exposed you to it that made you go, this is cool?
I think it's just been a special interest from a young child. My first computer was a Commodore 64, probably like most people from my era that are computing minded.
Yeah. And so you just got your first family computer. Was it a family computer, obviously? You shared with the whole family?
Yes, there's a Commodore 64, there was a 486, there was a Pentium 233 megahertz dinosaur that had a turbo button.
Okay.
And it's just been a special interest, from about 7 years old.
And when you started like making computers, when did that kind of happen?
I'll probably say I made my first computer at about, I'm going to say 15.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember what that was?
I think that was a Pentium 2. It was about 450 megahertz or so, maybe even less, and about 16 mega RAM and a 2.4 gig hard drive.
Super fast.
By today's standards.
Dial up minus. But, it got you through, right?
Absolutely. And I've loved it. And sometimes I even watch content about this old stuff that people still have up and running.
I'm seeing some cool stuff now where people like retrofitting old computers and adding like modern ones. Like, for example, taking like the Apple Mac Mini and putting it into like, an Apple One computer monitor or things like that. So it's kind of cool to see some of that retro kind of computers, but then adding modern technology to them. That's just some things that have been coming on my algorithm. I don't know if you've seen some of that stuff.
I've seen a little bit, but my feed is mostly filled with marketing content these days. But sometimes I will seek it out.
Yeah, absolutely. So you leave high school and you kind of want to get into the IT. Did you study like IT, or is there anything in particular that you went and studied in a tertiary kind of environment?
Sure. I won a apprenticeship, or I won a cadetship to be basically a computer engineer for a school, and I worked there for 3 years. Then I worked as a systems engineer, both with Mac and PC, driving all over Sydney. It was fairly exhausting for me at the time. So I've had a few career changes, but mostly based around computing
Technology.
and technology. And I managed a computer store, managed some large networks. Development was something that piqued my interest for a period of time there, and I had my hobby business of developing websites, developing little scripts for companies to use.
Right. When did you start getting into that hobby of building websites?
I think I built my first website as about 16.
Building computers, building websites, may as well.
Building websites at the time, like HTML and CSS, probably seen as more kind of pretty easy to do at the time. But, I would say that development was a lot harder back then around things like JavaScript and PHP and things like that, because there's not as many frameworks or resources available to learn from. And sorry, what was the question?
No, when your first kind of websites you started building.
So my first website I built, I had to build for JSS TAFE, which was like an optional elective at school, and then I did 3-unit computing, and there was a lot of development then, and I grown up sort of enjoying development. I feel like it's something that you can always reinvent yourself with, because there's multiple ways to do things. There's sort of multiple ways to solve a problem, and you can solve some of these problems in a creative way. I like the idea of breaking things down to small steps and then working at those small steps and putting it all together at the end.
Right. I guess that would, building a computer would have that mindset, right? Where you're building part by part and connecting the dots, right? Do you think that connection of dots, from building a computer has really kind of impacted what your life is now and in your business, and connecting the dots and doing all that for your clients?
I've always had a passion to understand of how things work. I tend to be quite deep in my overthinking of things.
Me too. I'm creative. I'm a deep thinker.
I probably makes a lot more sense in my life. I think looking back on my life, there was a lot of special interest in computing, and as you know, about September last year, I was diagnosed autistic, and it's been like a lot to process, and I just processed some things in my head just then.
Yeah.
And about, my special interest in computing. And it's just something I just didn't realize that just makes more sense. Like, had I known more about myself at that time, I think things could have potentially been a little bit different for me.
Yeah.
And so I just got caught on that thought. Sorry.
That's fine. Thanks for sharing that. I hear a lot of stories about like people getting diagnosed later on in life. Like, my son has autism. We caught it pretty early on. For years, he's been on medication and therapies, and it's quite a lot. So I can't imagine, from someone who's lived his life to finally get something. It's probably kind of good though to get the answers to potentially things, right?
I certainly feel that I understand myself on a level that most other people would not. One thing that really surprised me about processing this and learning about it is how well things are actually defined.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of terminology I'd never even had heard before,
Yeah.
monotropic split, things like that. And I feel like on paper, a lot of things are me, and it's kind of scary how it's almost like, in a sense of a Truman Show. I think it's a Truman Show where I feel like I've had someone observing me my life.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you have some answers though. But, I think that, like you said, like you wanting to build things and connect the dots, like that's all part of who you are, right? And now obviously it's helping you in what your career is, which is pretty awesome. And I think autism has such a bad stigma on it. And it pains me to see my son potentially go through his life, and he has situations where people don't understand him, people avoid him, and that hurts me. But I want to support him, and you have a good supporting wife, you have a good supporting work environment with all your work colleagues, and I'm sure they've probably supported you through this new kind of thing that you're discovering about yourself, I'm sure.
Absolutely. The team has been amazing. I wouldn't trade them for anyone else in the world. They just are able to just go through and just take things off my plate and execute them perfectly. Sometimes even better than I would myself.
Sometimes it's taking that control away from you that things can flourish, right?
And so I think it's actually helped us be a little bit more competitive, in a way. Things are not so reliant on myself.
Yeah. Cool. And honestly, man, I don't care if someone's autistic or not. I like talking and connecting with people because of the person they are, not about what stigma they have on them. So, mate, you could have told me, you could have not told me, and I wouldn't have thought any different of you. And that's all we really need to talk about. That you are Liam, and that's it. And that's amazing. So let's talk more about kind of merging into what you do now. So, computer nerd, but you're also an athlete, which is kind of it's like a seesaw kind of thing. How did you juggle being an athlete and being a computer nerd? Did you get any, like, people going, you can't be into computers if you like to play football kind of thing?
Look, I enjoyed playing football. I'm not the biggest football fan. I'm more of a person who would love to watch Star Wars rather than.
See, this is why I like you. This is why I like you. You're speaking my language.
I love science fiction. I love Lord of the Rings. I think I watch it annually, pretty much.
Did I tell you that I went and saw the Lord of the Rings musical?
You did, and it piqued my interest, but I'm not sure the musical side, but it did definitely pique my interest.
It made me rewatch the film, so it had been a couple of years since I'd watched them.
They're classics. I don't think you could ever reboot those films. They're perfect the way they are.
Yeah. I'm sure if we talk about anything else Lord of the Rings, we could have a whole other podcast.
Maybe we need one.
You'll know more.
I think, in terms of an athlete, it was, my way of high masking.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
That's the way I see it anyway, as of now. I mean, I did enjoy playing it as a child, but my interest of marketing, computing, is in science fiction is far more than what it could be with football.
Yeah, 100%. So you leave school, you do all these kind of different type of jobs, different kind of areas. How did you get into marketing? Like, where did that come from? Because really, building computers and websites, yes, obviously is part of marketing, but building computers doesn't mean you know how to market. So how did you jump from computer nerd to marketing nerd?
Sure. Throughout my years, I've always had a bit of an interest in body language. Once again, that sort of makes a little bit more sense. Now I know what I know. I feel like I break down in my head or overanalyze how people work. When I started into the world of SEO, it became very clear to me that SEO is a small part of marketing, and the better the marketing on the website, it's not just about the ranks. It will also turn more people into customers.
Yeah.
So then the idea of how audiences work became core to the content of the pages.
Yeah. Okay. So what got you into actually doing the physical work?
I think it's because Pixite has always been great at solving our customers' problems, and we would have people come to us with horrendous websites. Sometimes they would barely rank, dead on page 2 or 3. And then we would work hard and we'll get them to the top, and then they still weren't converting enough traffic. And so then analyzing that their conversion rate might be 1%, and we've turned that into 5 or 6% with just some wordsmith, with just some creative copy and some layout changes, was when I realized that I actually really love doing this.
Yeah. For the audience, can you just break down what ranking is? I think a lot of people, when they think of Google, is like, oh, those ads in the top, that must be their top ranked. Well, no, that's they're paying a lot of money to be there.
Sure.
So can you talk about what ranking is?
Sure. Well, at the top of the search results for some keywords, you'll have paid traffic, usually commercial or transactional type of keywords, and you pay to be there. So that click might cost you a few cents. It might cost you a few dollars. It depends on the industry.
Mm-hmm.
From there, you usually have what you call the map pack or the local listings, usually to 3 to 4, usually 3 organic, 1 paid.
And that's based upon like the Google Maps, and if you're on the My Business side of Google.
It's now called Google Business Profile.
Yeah, it changes all the time.
Yeah. And the biggest ranking factor there is proximity.
Yeah. Okay. So so it's literally like location based. So if you're in Penrith and you type in a certain thing, it's going to be based upon where you are pinged.
Yes. Your proximity to the business is usually, that's the predominant ranking factor there. And then you have your organic search results. So getting to the top, it's not just about getting that first click. Usually you also get the highest quality leads that come through. So people assume that you're the most trustworthy because you're at the top of the list. And so you'll find that the conversion rate, or the rate that you turn someone who's just a clicker into a converter, to someone who's submitting a lead or making a phone call or buying a product, that vastly improves.
Okay. So simply terms, paid ads would be someone who's paying whatever they're paying to get seen. So that they could be a business that could be in a completely different location from you, but they could be paying potentially to get in a certain suburb or a certain area. The next is the map app, which is all the location based. So where you are location, where you type in a certain business type, wherever you are based in, they will give you a result from that. And then the last is your ranking through organic SEO. With SEO, which is search engine optimization, what do you think is some of the most important things businesses should be doing in order to get as close to that first page as possible?
We could hire me.
You absolutely could.
So the thing that I think is most important is context. So Google makes billions of dollars out of search, and they're just not going to show you at the top unless you're relevant. So I think context is a very important thing. Having a focus keyword in your title of the page, in your H1 tag. So the title is how it appears in the search result. The H1 tag is how it appears in the top of the page. I think that is important. I think also being thorough on a topic. So when we talking about being thorough, we might have benefits, you might have a versus, you might have some pitfalls, and then making sure that the content is laid out in such a way that it's great for skimming It's not just a text wall. And just keep in mind that even though you're optimizing it for search, you still want that human audience to resonate with it and become a client.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's your thoughts on video with SEO?
Believe it or not, we're getting asked more and more and more to do YouTube SEO. So it's actually quite exciting to do something a little bit different. Video is becoming just so important now to web pages because people crave that movement, they crave that interactivity, and most people I find are skimming, but they will spend the additional time on page to watch a video. So in some instances where we've added a piece of video content to a page, that the average time on page has increased.
Yeah, and there's a stat out there, I might not be exactly accurate with this stat, but it's like 80% more conversions will happen if you do have video on your website. People will much rather watch a video than read a whole bunch of text. That's just the age right now, right? But also back onto that YouTube, I think it's really important. Like, I'm not a web developer, but having YouTube embedded into your website and getting SEO from YouTube and that kind of traction will help as well, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. And that's something that I've always been saying to a lot of my clients is you need to start putting, going on YouTube, and they're like, oh, why? Like, Instagram short form. I go, no, like if you want increase your SEO, start posting on YouTube and then start embedding that into your website in whether it's a blog or a learning page or services or whatever it may be, and increase that SEO in that ranking.
I find that adding hero video to pages definitely increases the amount of conversions and increases the average time on page. It also increases the relevance in terms of ranking. I think what a lot of business owners don't understand sometimes is their audience. They don't understand that certain people want to consume content differently from others.
Mm-hmm.
Some people may prefer to read
Sure.
text content, but I think people with the age of social media now just expect video to be on their website.
100%. And look, obviously there's so many different types of businesses. There's people that sell a service or someone that sells a product, and how does that work with a website? Like, web development is, again, we could have a whole podcast on web development. We could even sit down with Simple Media, and have a big powwow about websites. But, I think it's really, I honestly think having at least one video on your website should be a must for every business. And someone who's in websites all the time, you can agree or disagree.
No, I definitely agree. I think particularly if you've got a product that might have a complicated sales process, what we're finding is that educating audiences, micro way, like they would potentially consume content on Instagram or TikTok, is actually creating more highly qualified leads. Because by the time the customer is actually ready to pull the trigger and make a purchase, they know just as much about the product as the sales process.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much in our scope now, depending on client budget, to recommend hero videos out of the box.
Yeah, awesome. So let's backtrack a little bit. So you said you worked with a whole bunch of jobs outside of school and different careers. When did Pixite form, and when was this your first business that you created as a business owner?
Pixite is my first business. Predominantly, I ran as a freelancer up till COVID. So during COVID, I decided to change the model to an agency because I felt that I was doing design, development, SEO, Google ads, Facebook ads, and I was worried about not really being able to specialize in anything at all. I felt that, if someone else had 100% focus, they could absolutely do these things better than I could, trying to be like a bosun's mate, a jack of all trades, but a master of none. So I changed to the agency model, and that's been a game changer for me because it means that what I said, there's some people that are out there that are better at certain things than me. So my developer, Dylan, I thought I was a good developer, And then I got him on board, and I was very humbled.
It was funny. I was talking to David, my editor, today, and he asked me a question like, what's some of the biggest advice you've ever had? And I said, actually, it's from my mum, and it was, try your best and be humble. And I think, as a creative and as a business owner, like, absolutely, like, you think you are going to be the best at everything, and if you can hire people that are better than you, or can become better than you, then that can take a lot of stress off your plate as well. Just be humble about it.
Absolutely, yeah. I think there's that drive to be high quality and respected, and it can be overwhelming to try and do all this sort of stuff properly on your own.
Yeah, that's something that I find the hardest is like business can be quite lonely. I run a small business, you run a small business, you have a larger team than me though. But for me, like I sometimes feel a little bit lonely as a business owner, which is why like I reached out to you is, wanted to connect with you. Yes, if work came my way, awesome, but also just to connect with you on a personal level too, and build a friendship and build that kind of, hey, we're not in this on our own. We can, yes, I'm not in the weeds of your business and vice versa, but we can call each other. We chatted on the phone yesterday and about some things as well. So I think it's really important that when you do start a business to find a network of people that can help you, not only potentially get clients, but also help you through the troubled times as well.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that has made me really be able to connect with my clients is, their ability to understand and empathize with their problems. Pixite has started from the ground up. I've gone through that pressure of trying to do everything. You're sitting there following up invoices. It's 1 o'clock and you've got a deadline that you've got to fulfill, but then you've also got to make sure that you've sent out your invoices for the month. It's very lonely, and I think to a lot of people who have never owned a small business, they don't understand the amount of anxiety. I'm going to use the word anxiety here that goes into running your own business. Those days that you stay up all night because you can't sleep because there's one thing that you worry about and you can't solve.
Yeah. Or something happens that you weren't expecting, and then it kind of gets you in that mindset for the whole week of negativity. It happened to me this week. I had something at the beginning of the week that impacted me, and my mindset went down. Though I sound positive on this podcast, there is times where I'm like, oh my goodness, that happened. That has just ruined my entire rest of my week. And how do I get over that?
I have to say what you said, that having a network of people around you does help a lot. Even if you don't realize it straight away, hindsight may kick in, and that might be a few days later, that might be a few weeks later. For me, the chamber, and the networking groups have been a little bit daunting because, I have...
You had undiagnosed autism, and now it's diagnosed. So, of course, I'm sure social situations, like in a big scales, you're probably like, not really for me.
So that part has been daunting, but I think I'm quite an open person, and what I found is that when you're open with people, they open up to you.
Yeah.
And I've had some great advice from business owners in the Penrith area. One of the people that I believe has helped me more than anyone else, aside from my wife, has been Michael Todd from One Point Health, who runs a really large team, and he has been right every step of the way. So what I mean by that, when I went and I was very excited about getting my first staff member, he said, "Congratulations, you now have more problems." And
so true.
And I was like, "What do you mean? Like, this
is going to solve everything."
Yes. And it, like, I'm not saying my first employee was a problem or anything like that, but there's that unforeseeable stuff that came with it. But setting that expectations and seeing where to steer the ship, like having that lighthouse for me has been has helped me get to where I am today.
I've said it on this podcast before, and I'll keep on saying it. We don't get taught how to be a business owner in high school or in our early education, and I really think there should be some form of course or some form of thing where it talks about, if you are wanting to run a business, here's some things that you should know about. Because honestly, like, most people who go into these run businesses fail because they don't know things. And it's like, I'm still learning as a business owner, and yeah, you're right. Like, you can get stuff and you can think it's going to help and it's going to fix things, but then it might not, or it might. It's just, there's so many variables as a business owner. So what do you think as a business owner is the toughest thing that you've had to overcome?
I would say that the toughest thing, and I'm still working through this, is being able to separate life and business. Being able to come home and not think about work.
It's so hard, man.
It is.
It's so hard. Sometimes you can't get it out of your head, can you?
You can't get it out of your head. And then, the things that you give up. So we're talking before about how lonely a business owner can be. Coming in on a Sunday because you needed to get something done, but you didn't realize you may have forgotten. So you didn't think about that until Saturday night. So there's been occasions where I've done that, and I struggle to let go.
Yeah. So with that in mind, have you put anything into place that can try and help you separate? I hate the word work-life balance, but that's really what it is. But how do you separate work and your home? Is there anything you've kind of put into place? Give an example. I really try not to work on weekends. I try to keep working weekends all for my kids, all for my family. Yes, I'm not saying I don't work weekends. Like, it does happen. If there's notice, then we can. But I really try. If I can try to do 80% of the year without working weekends, then that's good. That's my family time, and that does work. And I do tend to be able to switch off from work on the weekends for the most part. So is there anything like that you've kind of put into place?
So this is something I'm still struggling with. So I have what they call ruminating. And some days I might ruminate over things that I haven't even done yet. So what I am trying to do is I'm trying to embrace a new hobby, and I'm trying to making rules about not working weekends or not working past 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah. What's the new hobby?
I bought myself a guitar.
Okay.
But I've only played it probably about 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
And I've had the guitar for about a year.
A funny story. My older sister wanted a guitar 1 year for Christmas. I think she was like, I don't know, 20 or something like that. Got given the guitar. She's never picked it up. She's never picked it up, and she's had the guitar for like 20 odd years. It's sat in a corner collecting dust for years and years and years. I think when you are wanting to start a new hobby, or you are wanting to learn something new or separate work, can be hard even to start that. But I think the best thing to do is just do it. Pick it up and try. I like to build Legos and play Minecraft with my son, and I will help my daughter with I'll dance with my daughter if she wants to do dancing with daddy. Like, those things are really important to me, that when I have that time, then I try to just focus on that. So yeah, pick up the guitar, man, and maybe in a couple months' time you can play me a song.
I definitely turn off the most when I'm with my girls, where we're going out and having pho or coffee or hot chocolates. That is the only time where I'm really be able to be present.
Mm-hmm.
As for,
Does that make you be?
I think it's because look, and I'll be honest with you, there's been some times where I would habitually pick up the phone, and it becomes a habit. One thing that I do believe in is that whole 1% incremental thing, like atomic habits. So I believe in putting in frictions for bad behaviors and removing frictions for good behaviors.
Yeah, Atomic Habits, that's a book, right?
That's a book, yes.
Is that one of your favorite books of recent?
I think, no, I've read it a few years ago. I've read it and I did the audio book on it. I think there's a lot of stuff that I go through and digest. And I think that has been, if you could take and make some changes, I think it's easier to eat the elephant one bite at a time, rather than trying to, carve out too much. I think those small little improvements matter more over time.
It comes back to your liking to put a computer together one piece at a time.
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Pixite started, and you're now a team of 5, 6.
There's 7 of us.
I knew that. I was getting there, 7. How do you like to manage the team as a business owner? Like, what is one thing that you really try to implement from the top down?
We are quite a tight-knit, open team. We've done a little bit of breathworks. We have a lot of friendly coffee catch-ups. My team, I just treat them like adults. I let them just. What I like to do with my team is I like to share a vision with them. So, and I don't care how they get there, as long as we're all singing from the same song sheet.
Yeah, right.
I find that really works. I don't like to micromanage. Every employer I've had has micromanaged me at some point. And I think sometimes, especially in the creative industry, people will find their own ways to solve problems creatively. And I think
if you give them the chance, yeah.
I think if you give that chance for them to breathe and to think about it, you actually get more out of them because they can solve it in their own creative ways, and then the whole entire team dynamic learns from that. We do a lot of frequent coffee catch-ups. We will just go to the cafe as a team, or we have a remote staff that we will catch up on Zoom and wish her a happy birthday, or share some stuff with them, and we just have a bit of team building. Like I feel like the dynamic is working well. We're quite a positive team.
Yeah.
Some people are definitely more positive than others, and I try and let them have more say on things.
Okay. Is trust important for you as a business owner?
Absolutely. Yep. I trust my team with my life.
Yeah.
And I think that came back to the hiring process. When we hired for our roles, we had Star Wars themed job titles, Star Wars team descriptions. Join the
not
rebellion.
A nerd at all, Liam. Not a nerd at all.
And we got some really creative responses in, and I feel that the people that we attracted were the people that had the right dynamic from the start. Not to say that we had some very intelligent people that applied, but we hired traditionally more on culture. It was a culture first approach.
Yeah, culture versus experience or skills. Like, obviously you want skills, but if you're gonna be stuck in a room with these people, you don't want to be vibing with them, right? You want to make sure that they're on the same wavelength. They're moving at your speed, or you can adapt to them, right? You want to be able to make sure that everything molds together.
Absolutely. And I think people develop skills, but I think culture is the source.
Yeah. And there's a saying.
The force.
The force. And there's a saying, hire slow, fire fast. So if you can hire slowly and right and find the right process of that, then you won't have to fire fast.
That's right.
Right. Which is fun. And look, I'm a small team. We're in a small team of 3, but I trust David, our editor, immensely. Like, there's weeks where I'm filming every day and I'm not out, and I just know that tasks are going to get done and things like that. Like next week, I'm filming every single day basically next week, so I'm not going to be in the office. So it's that trust that the work's going to get done in the best way, but also in the way that you can know that the work's happening is really, really important, especially when you do take the reins off. I think for me, I haven't really edited much. Like I still edit very rarely, but like for the last year, probably 6 months, I've not really edited anything, which was scary.
One of the things I love doing the most is development. And when I hired my developer, Dylan, I didn't expect him to be so talented. I thought there was still more room for me to be a developer. But a year and a half in, I don't do any development anymore. He does it all. And sometimes I go in and I feel like it's like a bike, but I'm just not pedaling fast enough. So there's some things that, like I'll give him a task that I think might take me 5 or 6 hours, and he has done it in literally 20 minutes.
I say to David all the time, I want you to be better than me. I want you to be better at editing me. Not saying I'm an amazing editor, but I want you to be better than me. And then me saying, hey, how did you do that? Or what techniques can you teach me? Like I want him to be better than me, so then I don't have to, go ahead and go, no, this is the way you have to do it.
Are you the same age as me?
I'm 36.
You're 36. Okay. Well, I'm 42. I of a generation that grew up, between having just technology was the adoption generation. So with
Not that much difference between me and you.
Not that much difference, but technology was emerging as I was growing up, and I think this next generation have come in and they've grown up with this technology already. So I feel that they are more skilled in a lot of ways. I feel in some ways...
Well, they didn't have to experience a dial tone when you connected to an internet, did they?
That's right. They never experienced when a fax came in that your internet would drop out.
Mom, get off the phone! I'm on MSN Messenger!
If I surprise you what they haven't heard of, as we have discussions. I think we mentioned, like, someone said, what was Skype once? And I was like, really? It took a bit to process
exists,
that.
Though, but probably not as prevalent as FaceTime or Zoom.
They laughed at me the other day because I called the Instagram the wall, the IG wall, whatever I said, and they laughed at me.
Right, yeah.
So yeah. I feel like... I
probably still have a MySpace if it still exists around there somewhere.
I tried to tell them about MySpace. I said to them there was a social media network that people love being on, and that was destroyed.
You get home from school and you just got to get an MSN Messenger, and they grow up. All these kids in that now grow up with LOLs and all that stuff. We invented them through MSN Messenger. Thank you.
I feel like these really long MSN nicknames that we had, where it was all squiggle lines. I feel like they missed out on that golden era.
Mine was Grandmaster DJ. I'm not a Grandmaster nor a DJ. My wife is like Rainbow Flutterby something or other. Crazy. But if I was to ask you what is the most... we've talked, a lot about business being tough and, it's hard and it's by solo and stuff like that. But what is the most amazing thing about being a business owner for you?
I think the most amazing part for me at the moment is the team dynamic. I think we all sing from the same song sheet. There's a lot of encouragement, and I find that definitely gets the dopamine happening. The thing that I love enjoying about the work is I like being able to put something together from a concept and deliver a entire thing. I like being across the entire marketing department for our clients. We don't just do SEO. We are sometimes across the entire customer journey. and being able to put that all together for them and having systems in place, marketing engines at work, I find very satisfying.
Yeah, amazing. And anything on a personal level, what you love about being a business owner?
This is a tough one. There's a lot of things I love and hate about being a business owner. I do hate the loneliness that comes with it.
Tax.
This is a very challenging question for me. I didn't expect to be thrown off like this. I think I do. I think at the end of the day, I really enjoy helping people.
Yeah.
I really do. I really do. Like, we've had a lot of people have come to us. They've had previous marketing agencies that may or may not have been delivering, may or may not have been very transparent, and may have come from a really bad spot in their business, and having turned that around, I think is very fulfilling.
Yeah.
We have a lot of success stories where we've had some clients come to us at their worst, and now they're at their best. And I think that's been the most, on a personal level, the most fulfilling thing I've done.
Awesome. So we're going to get into what I call my rapid fire questions.
Sure.
So let's get into them. First things that come into your head, okay? All right. If you have a superpower for the day, what would it be?
Time travel.
Okay, that's good. Favorite color?
Green.
Favorite shape?
I would probably say triangle.
Okay, why?
I like that there's divided by threes. There are, quadrilateral, equilateral triangles, I think it is.
There you go. All right.
Yeah,
cool.
it's hard to have a favorite shape.
I know, read them.
I have a favorite dinosaur.
What's your favorite dinosaur?
Brontosaurus.
Oh, there you go. What is your favorite movie?
Ooh. I'm going to have to say The Dark Knight.
Okay, awesome. Favorite album or artist?
Yeah, I know this is rapid fire, but this is a tough one. Someone who thrives on music all day to hyper focus. At the moment, I love baby metal.
What?
Baby metal?
Never heard of it. Is it babies doing metal?
No, it's like
Softer metal?
it's like Japanese pop mixed with metal.
Right, okay.
I do go through phases, synthwave, 80s music. Favorite artist, I would probably say, would be a metal band called Soilwork.
Okay. And what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given, whether it be personal or professional?
I think the best advice I've ever given, and it's very, very simple, is don't forget to look after yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Liam, very much for coming on the podcast. I've learned a lot more about you today, which is awesome. I can't wait to keep on working with you. For those listeners out there, we actually we do work together. We're a collaboration. We have some collaboration packages together, which is amazing for people. But if people do want to reach out to you for your services for SEO, web, all that kind of stuff that you do, just tell the audience of where they can find you.
You can find us at the top of most search results, or head to pixite.com.au.
Awesome. Thank you so much, mate.
All right, thank you.
Honestly, thank you so much, Liam, for coming on the podcast, being so open, honest, and raw. It's really important, like we said in the podcast, to talk to other business owners. This is what my podcast is all about. It's all about meeting and chatting with business owners and seeing how they got into it, talking through some stuff. And honestly, thank you so much for coming on. Like I've said before in this podcast, we are actually really excited about YouTube this year. We really want to focus on building our YouTube channel, and we do have a mission of getting to 1,000 subscribers in the next 4 months or 3.5 months now. There's going to be lots of different videos on here. Obviously, we're going to showcase our work with our clients. We're going to be putting up these podcasts. You're going to get to know me and the team a lot more. And obviously, we're going to be putting out some helpful informational tips as well. So head over to that YouTube channel and give it a like and subscribe. And for anyone that is listening that is a business owner and wants some help with their business and getting content, we are offering some free 15-minute discovery calls where we can go ahead and deep dive into your business and find out what content you are missing and how we can potentially help you out. So if you are interested in chatting to me and finding out how we can help your business, then head into the show notes or in the description of the YouTube and click on the link below. And we'll see you in the next podcast.